I have been asked to make this video for a very long time by many people, so I'm actually so excited to finally be doing it because I love tattoos. I have loved tattoos since I was a teenager. I love tattoo culture. I'm married to a very tattooed man. I just love them. But it has been very important to me since I started getting tattooed that all of my tattoos were discreet, because as an actor, you can't just be covered in tattoos. Even the smallest tattoo adds a lot of extra time in the makeup chair. So I've always kept them small and discreet, and I've also always made sure that they are meaningful to me, because my mom had it ingrained in my head since before I started getting tattooed that if I was going to get a tattoo, it needed to be important to me, it needed to be meaningful to me, and it needed to be something that ultimately I wouldn't regret down the line. Because all of my tattoos are kind of badges that represent different chapters and periods in my life, different memories that I have never regretted a single one. I love them all to this day, even if they're not the cutest, because they mean a lot to me. So the first tattoo I'm going to tell you about is the first one that I ever got, and this tattoo is actually kind of split into two tattoos because my mom wanted me to get the really little one first just to make sure, again, I didn't have any regrets. I got the tattoo when I was 15, which is legal if you get approval and permission from a parent, which I did. So I had to wait for about a year before my mom finally gave the consent to get this tattoo. She wanted to make sure that I still wanted it a year later and I wasn't just being impulsive. And then the year following that, I got the larger part of the tattoo. So it all kind of means one thing to me, but I'll start with the small bit first. The small little heart on my hip is a Celtic heart. I'm half Irish, so that's why I went with a Celtic style of tattoo. My dad's half is the Irish side, and he had a few Celtic tattoos when I was growing up, so I just had that in my head as a style that I really liked, and it was a part of my heritage. And the heart represents mother's love. At least that's what I saw on the internet. So let's just go with that. It represents mother's love, which is very important to me because my mom is my best friend. She's my whole world. She is the funniest person I know, the smartest person I know, and I just love her so much, and we've always been insanely close. Like, we always thought of like Gilmore Girls, Rory and Lorelai relationship as us, you know, we were best friends. When I was 15, when I got the tattoo, it was the first time I was starting to make trips out to LA without my mom. So it was my first time traveling without my mom. And I wanted that reminder when I was away from her. I always had her love no matter what. The second part of the tattoo, which is the larger part, is another Celtic symbol, which represents protection. Again, that's what the internet tells me, so let's go with it. All in all, this tattoo means protection of mother's love. And even if that's inaccurate, that's what it means to me. Because like I said, when I started traveling without my mom, I wanted that reminder that no matter where I ended up in the world, what I ended up doing, who I ended up becoming, I always had the protection of my mother's love. And that was always going to keep me safe, even in the times that we couldn't be together physically. I've actually lived in LA for 11 years now. So it's been 11 years of not living in the same country as my mom. And although we miss each other a lot, it is really nice for me to just, again, have that physical reminder that no matter what, I am so lucky, and it is so amazing that I have the bond with my mom that I do, and it's, you know, that unconditional mother's love. What's better than that? The next tattoo I got was when I was 18 years old, and it was a saying on my rib cage, actually from a Fergie song, believe it or not. And it says, myself and I. I wasn't a diehard Fergie fan or anything like that. I just heard that lyric and it really stuck with me because I was watching all of my friends go off to university and I wasn't following that same traditional path as everybody else. I came from a town where everybody knew everybody. I know Toronto seems like a big city, but it's not. It's small. It's very urban, but it's very small, and everyone does kind of know everyone. And all of my friends were going to the same schools. They were kind of setting themselves up for the same lives, and I wasn't going to do that. I knew that if I did end up at school, I was going to go to school in New York City, and if I didn't end up at school, I was going to be pursuing acting in Los Angeles. I just didn't know exactly what my future held, but I knew that it was definitely going to be a different path than any of my friends. There was times where that was was tough because they all seemed to have it mapped out and they were all gonna have the support of each other. And I had to remind myself in those moments that I was gonna be okay because I had myself. As long as I felt confident in who I was, confident with, you know, the fact I was gonna find whatever path was right for me, and as long as I was just being the person that I wanted to be, then everything would be okay because I always had myself. So myself and I, that's what that represents. That tattoo was eventually altered, but I am not going to talk about that in this video, and I will tell you why at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. The next tattoo I'm going to tell you about is a teeny tiny one on my wrist. I wanted this one to be super subtle, so I actually had him do it like a pencil sketching, and it's beautiful. It's really small, it's really light, and the reason why I wanted it that way was because it was the first tattoo I had gotten in a place that was going to be constantly exposed. All of my other tattoos are in places that would be hidden by clothing for the most part, so I wanted it to be very subtle. This tattoo is Japanese characters that mean keep calm, and I did not Google that. I was not trusting the internet on that one. I went straight to a Japanese person who I'd met on my trip to Japan in 2011. I went to Japan in 2011 after season 2, 3 of 90210 wrapped for a PR trip, and I ended up extending my trip because I wanted to explore Japan. I was so excited to be there. And the day before the day I was supposed to leave, the huge earthquake hit, the earthquake that ended up resulting in the massively devastating tsunami and the power plants blowing up and, you know, all the craziness that ensued. I had never experienced natural disaster before. I had never experienced an earthquake. Living in LA, you're always hearing about the big one, so it's definitely a fear that I've always had, but I didn't really know what to be scared of because I've never experienced it. So when that earthquake hit, Japanese people by nature are very cool, calm, and collected. They kind of hold their cards close to their chest, and when I saw everybody around me starting to freak out, I asked my translator what was going on because they were so used to earthquakes. There had been a 7 point something a couple days prior, and I didn't even feel it in my hotel room because their infrastructure is literally built for earthquakes. But I could see her panicking, and I asked why, and she said, I've never experienced anything like this, something's wrong. So that just scared the shit out of me, basically. And my whole experience with the earthquake was just like crazy and surreal. It was very frightening. And throughout it all, what stood out to me far more than my fear or anything like that was just how incredible the Japanese culture is and how incredible the Japanese people were to me as a guest to their country while this craziness was going on, and how incredible they were to one another as well. Like, I remember the morning after the earthquake happened, I was watching news feeds of the subway stations, and there was hundreds and hundreds of people in single file lineups waiting to get on the subway. I was like, oh my gosh, in North America, I don't even want to think about what a subway station would look like. I mean, there would be bodies all over the place, people clamoring on top of each other. It would be an absolute mess. And it's just a testament to, you know, their whole demeanor, their culture. And it's a culture that I find to be so graceful and so beautiful, and I have so much respect for, and I love that country and its people very much. So when I got home to Los Angeles, I wanted to get this tattoo as a reminder to me that it's important to keep calm. I am a very anxious person by nature. I can definitely tend to blow things out of proportion and think the world's ending when, like, I'm so blessed. So this is a great reminder of how brilliant the Japanese people were in the most devastating of times, and I need to be a little bit more like that and work harder on myself every day to, you know, keep calm and be grateful and, you know, just navigate life one day at a time. The next tattoo I'm going to tell you about is one that sits right above that one. It is my latest tattoo, the most recent one that I got. It is a little cursive writing that says Lost in Lala. And no, I did not get that because it's the name of my blog. It's the name of my blog because it's been a phrase that has meant a lot to me ever since I got to LA. Since moving to LA for this crazy life-altering experience of, you know, being on the show 90210, I have oftentimes felt lost in La La Land. I kind of carried that little catchphrase with me over the years, and it took a long time to feel settled in Los Angeles and feel like I found my place. And I don't feel lost anymore. I feel like I found where I belong in this city, and I have carved out that space for myself. I've created this home in this life in this world for myself in a city that I really didn't know anybody in to begin with. That all started to happen when I met my husband, and together we have kind of built this life. We've, you know, had our adventures together, and now we've got a beautiful home and a beautiful dog and a beautiful daughter. And, you know, this tattoo I got recently as kind of a reminder of like where I started in LA and where I am now. And it's just kind of a little like pat on the back to myself and a reminder that I should be proud of where I am. I may not have achieved everything I want to achieve. I may not be 100% who I want to be. You know, I'm still growing and learning and, you know, driving forward every single day, but I have so much to be proud of. And I always identified Toronto as home, but now I really feel like Los Angeles is my home because your home is where your heart is, and my heart is here in these four walls surrounded by the beautiful family that I have created for myself. The next tattoo I'm going to tell you about is a little one behind my ear. This tattoo is a memorial tattoo for a very, very, very close friend of mine who passed away much too young. When I was first out in LA, he was like my biggest cheerleader. He was so proud of me. He was so excited for me. He was like constantly, you know, calling me and planning his trip out here and telling me like, oh my God, I can't believe you did it. Like, it's happening, you know? And we were super, super close. And before he was ever actually able to make his trip out to LA to visit me, I got a call one night telling me that he had passed away in a drunk driving accident. Him and two other friends of his, two boys, all passed away. It was a stupid but very tragic event, and it, you know, it took some awesome people way too soon. And it was the first time I had ever lost anybody that wasn't just, you know, someone older, a grandparent or you know, an older family friend, someone in their 70s or 80s who had kind of reached their final chapter of life and lived a long, great life. It was my first time losing someone who was taken too soon and who was so close to me and close in age to me. Never really talked about this before. It was really tough for me to deal with. I was busy working like crazy hours because it was, you know, the beginnings of 90210, and I didn't have family or friends out here to support me during that time. So it was just kind of madness in my head, and I think I pushed a lot of it into the back of my mind for a few years until I felt ready to deal with it. But he was the most vibrant, like hilarious, lovable, charismatic guy on the planet. He was just that guy. Everybody loved him, and myself included. You know, he was the best. I knew I wanted to get a tattoo to memorialize him, but I never knew what it was going to be or when it was going to happen. And when I turned 21, I thought that would be the perfect day to get it done, because I lost him when I was 19 and he was always a year older than me. And when I turned 21, it was the first time that I got older than him. And that really meant something to me. And I thought that would be the great time to memorialize him with a tattoo. So I got a little Peter Pan's hat behind my ear. That is who he was to me. He was the kind of guy who just never wanted to grow up. He hated stress. He hated responsibility. He wanted everybody to have a good time and just relax and laugh. It gives me a lot of peace thinking that in a way he was happy that because of the circumstances, he was never gonna have to. He never had to grow up. And there's a part of me that thinks that that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's what the Peter Pan's hat represents to me. And to me, it was just like the perfect way to kind of symbolize who he was in my life, which was always just this vibrant, you know, awesome, down for a good time guy. So that is where I'm gonna stop with this little tattoo tour, because I do have a few more tattoos, but they are all matching or sort of matching tattoos with my husband, and I want him to be here when I tell you guys about those tattoos. Yes, we did the most taboo thing in the world when it comes to relationships. We got matching tattoos, and not just one, quite a few. Stay tuned for that video, because we will be sitting here or maybe somewhere else in the house talking about what those tattoos represent to us, to our relationship, and to the life that we have built together. I'm really excited to do that. And before you take off, I want you to leave me a comment below letting me know about your most meaningful tattoo. I would love, love, love to know that. So definitely leave me that comment below. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.